I recently bought an off-market properties for a client and negotiated $250,000 off the asking price. But here is the important part. The property wasn't sitting on realestate.com.au and domain waiting for us to find it. We got access to the property before going through the normal buying process. And that's a part of the property market that most buyers don't really understand. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how off-market and pre-market property actually works, how I build relationship with the selling agents to find this type of property, and how you can start doing some of this yourself. But I also want to clear something up, because I think there is a massive misconception around off-market property. Just because it's off-market, it doesn't mean it's a good deal. So I've seen off-market properties where the vendor's expectations are so unrealistic. So getting access is one thing. Knowing whatever you should actually buy the property and what you should pay for it is something completely different. I'll show you how I think about both. So now, if you watched part 1 of the series, we talked about having a proper buying brief, understanding true value and making decisions before emotions get involved. But even if you get all of that right, you are still got another problem. You need to find the property. And this is where most buyers become completely reactive. They open realestate.com.au, they open domain, they put the suburbs, the bedrooms, the budget, and then when something appears, they go to the open home and they get excited. But everybody else looking for the same type of property has just received exactly the same notification. Now, you are all looking at the same property. You are all going to the same Saturday inspection. And if it's a good property, you are all gonna try to buy. And this is the market most buyers see, but it's not the entire market. Property can be sold pre-market. They can be quietly offered through an agent's database. A vendor may be willing to sell, but they don't want the full campaign. And sometimes an agent knows a property is coming months before the photographer has even walked through the front door. The question is, are you somebody they think to call? So as a buyer's agent, a big part of my job is to maintain relationship with the top performing selling agents in the area where I am buying. I'm not just calling them when I see one of the property online, hey, what's the price guide? I'm speaking with them about what I'm looking for. Then I want these agents to know exactly what I am looking for. There is a big difference between calling an agent and saying, hey, have you got anything off market? And saying, I've got a buyer looking for a 3 to 4 bedrooms house in this specific pocket. They need parking, ideally with some outdoor space, they're comfortable around this price range, finance is ready, they're ready to move. Now, the agents now know that I have a real buyer. They call it a hot buy, and they know what will actually fit. And importantly, they know I am in a position to transact, because you have to look at this from the agent side as well. Real estate agents, they speak with buyers all the time. They've got 100, sometimes thousands of people sitting into their database. So why are they going to remember you? Why are they gonna call you before the property goes online? You need to make their job easier. If a real estate agent knows exactly what you're looking for and believes you are a genuine buyer, when they go into a listing presentation or speaking with a vendor they are considering selling, they can potentially say, I may already have a buyer for this. And that's where opportunities can start appearing before an online campaign. Now, this doesn't happen because you called an agent 6 months ago. You need to stay in front of mind. If I'm actively searching in an area for my clients, I'm speaking with the agents all the time. I am following up, I'm asking what's coming, I'm telling them when my buyer's position changes, and over time, you start learning something else that's really valuable. You learn which agents control the stock you actually want. You will understand who are the agents who have the biggest market share in the area that you're looking to buy. Because not every agent into a specific suburbs equally relevant. One agent may dominate apartments into a specific area. Another may consistently sell family homes. Another may have a very strong relationship with prestige owners. So rather than randomly calling agents and asking, hey, anything off market, I want you to start mapping the market you are trying to buy in. Look at the properties similar to what you want they have sold over the last 6 to 12 months. Who sold them? What's the agent names? What's the agent name that keeps appearing? Those are the relationships that I would start building. And you don't need to pretend to be a biased agent. Just be a good buyer. Prepare, be clear, be responsive. Know your budget, know your brief, know what you want, have your finance organized. And if an agent sends you something that is not right, tell them what. Don't just disappear, because you are effectively teaching that agents what a good opportunity looks like for you. Eventually, you want to get to the point where your phone rings and the agent says, Harry, I've got something coming. I think it may work for your buyer. That's where off-market access really starts. But getting that phone call doesn't automatically mean you found a good property. And the words off-market definitely doesn't mean you are getting a bargain. Sometimes it's actually the opposite. Think about why vendors may be willing to sell. Maybe they value privacy. Maybe they are considering selling but don't want to commit to a full campaign yet. Maybe they'll sell if somebody gives them the right price. And sometimes the price can be very ambitious. So when an agent calls me and say, Harry, I've got something off market, my first reaction is not, great, how do we buy it? I still need to work out whether it's actually a good purchase. Does it fit the brief? Is there anything concerning about the property? What are the comparable sales? What do I believe is worth? And where does the vendor's expectation actually sit compared with that? This is where what we covered in part 1 becomes very important, because access without evaluation discipline can get you in trouble. There is a psychological element of off-market property as well. The moment somebody tells you this is not online, you're getting a look before anybody else, you're the only one getting access, the vendor doesn't really want this getting out there. Suddenly, the property feels more exclusive. And exclusivity can affect the way buyers think about value. You can start feeling like you've been given an opportunity that you can't afford to lose. But I personally don't care whether property is online, pre-market, or completely off-market. I still want to know what is actually worth. A good example of this was a client of mine, Isaac. So Isaac and his family, they were relocating from China to Sydney, and they wanted to buy a big prestige family home in Vaucluse. They didn't know the market very well, and they were making a very significant financial decision in a market that was unfamiliar to them. And they were making a significant financial decision in a market that was unfamiliar to them. We eventually end up buying an off-market property in Vaucluse, was sitting around just under 1,000 square meters of land, water views, and fitted exactly what the family was looking for. So we did solve the access problem. But that didn't mean we just accepted the vendor's number, because in that case, the vendors was initially looking for around 27 million. We still had to understand the property, assess the value, and negotiate. So at the end, we secured it for around 24 million. Now, the lessons there is not that every off-market has a 3 million sitting into the negotiation. It doesn't. The important point is that access and price are two separate things. Getting access gave us the opportunity to buy the property, right? But it didn't determine what we should pay for it. And that's the mindset I want you to have. When you get an off-market opportunity, don't fall in love with the fact that it's off. Treat it exactly like you would any other property. Do your due diligence, look at the comparable sales, understand the vendor's expectation, establish your own view on value, then negotiate from there. Because the objective is not to tell your friends, I bought it off market. The objective is to buy the right property at the price you can actually justify. Now, there is another advantage to getting access before a properties go through the full public campaign. It's not necessarily that the property itself is cheaper, it's that the negotiation environment can be completely different. Let's say there is a great family home in the area you've been looking into it. If the property goes into realestate.com.au on Wednesday, by Saturday, potentially 100,000 of people have seen it online. Now, the serious buyers have already saved it. They've sent it to the partner, they've looked at the floor plan, they've driven past it. Then Saturday morning, everybody turns up. You walk through the front door and there are 30 other groups walking around the property. Oh my God. Now, something starts happening psychologically. You're not just assessing the house anymore. You are looking at everybody else. You're thinking, how many of these people are going to make an offer? You see another couple talking to the agent. You see somebody inspecting the backyard for the second time. You start wondering whatever they are interested. Then the agents follow up after the inspection and says, we've had a really strong interest. We've got few buyers circling around. We may have an offer coming in soon. And maybe that's completely true because now the property has been exposed to the entire market. The agent has competition, and competition gives the vendors leverage. Now, compare that with getting access before public campaign. Maybe the photographer has been through yet. Maybe the property is not going online until next week. Maybe the vendor is prepared to sell beforehand if the right buyers comes along. Now, the conversation in that case can be completely different. You're not standing in a crowded open home trying to work out who else is the interest party or is bidding. You may have an opportunity to inspect the property properly, do your due diligence, establish your view of value, and put forward an offer before the full market is involved. That doesn't mean the vendor has to accept it, and it definitely doesn't mean you should overpay just to stop the property going online, but you've potentially changed the environment you are negotiating in. So this is exactly what happened with Philip and Hannah. They were living into an apartment in Coogee. They were expecting the second child and they needed more space. They wanted a proper family home with an outdoor area, but they didn't want to give up the coastal lifestyle, which they love. Instead of just waiting for another suitable house to appear online, we were proactively working the market. Proactively. We eventually uncovered an off-market house that fitted what they were looking for. At that stage, they were the only buyers given the chance to inspect it. So think about it, how different that experience is. They weren't walking to an open home with another 30 buyers around. They weren't competing with everybody who received the same property alert that morning. We had an opportunity to look at the property and decide whatever it was right for them before it was broadly available to the market. And that's the real advantage I want you to understand. Off-market is not valuable because the words off-market magically make the property cheaper. No, it's valuable because sometimes it gives you access to a property you wouldn't otherwise have seen, or gives you an opportunity to act before the normal competition arrives, before all the masses arrive. But there is a mistake buyers can make here as well. They hear there is another buyer and immediately assume they need to increase their offer. I don't do that. If an agent tells me there is competition, I want you to understand the competition. Is there actually another offer? Has been submitted in writing? It is conditional? What's a settlement? Is the vendor generally prepared to sell? What information can I establish before changing my position? Because another buyer jumping in doesn't suddenly change what I think the property is worth. If I have done the valuation work and established my maximum price, I'm just not gonna throw that away because the negotiation has become uncomfortable. This is where access and negotiation have to work together. finding the opportunity gets you through the door. What you do once you are through the door determines wherever you actually buy well. But so far, we mainly talk about agents bringing opportunities to you. What happens when the property you want is not for sale at all? So here is the final sheet I want you to make. Stop thinking that your only job as a buyer is to wait for somebody to decide to sell, because that's what most buyers are actually doing. They've got their notification alert set up. Every morning they check realestate.com.au and domain. Thursday come around and they look what's open on Saturday. And if nothing suitable appears, they basically wait another week, another month. What if the property you want already exists? The owner just hasn't decided to put it online yet. This is where you can start becoming much more proactive. Start to think like a buyer's agent. Let's say you've narrowed your search down to a particular pocket and you're looking for a very specific type of property. Instead of just searching what's currently for sale, start looking at properties that actually exist in that area. Which buildings would you buy in? Which street? What property type? If you're looking for an apartment, which blocks actually have the right size, aspect, parking, floor plans that you actually want? If you're looking for a house, which properties fit the land size, the position, the style you're trying to buy? Now you're going from saying what's for sale to what would I actually like to own? That's a very different way of searching. From there, you can start trying to uncover whatever any of those owners may consider selling. Now, it doesn't mean knocking on somebody's door and pressuring them to sell the house. There are different ways you can approach the vendors. You can speak with agents who dominate the streets or buildings. You can ask whatever they know the owners on that building or on that street considering selling. You can make sure they know you've got a genuine brief, realistic. And where is appropriate, you can potentially approach owners directly and simply let them know there is a genuine buyer interested if they were ever considering to sell the property. Most of the time, nothing will happen, and that's completely normal. You're not looking for every owner to say yes, it's a numbers game. You're looking for one situation where the timing happens to work. Maybe someone has been thinking about downsizing. Maybe they have already bought somewhere else. Maybe they were going to sell later in 6 to 12 months or 2 years. Maybe they don't want to go on the market because they don't want to have strangers walk into their home on Saturday. When you have the right buyer at the right time, sometimes a conversation can happen before property ever reaches the public market. This is why having a very clear buying brief matters so much. If you tell an agent, I want a nice house in the eastern suburbs, that's almost useless. What are they supposed to do with that? But if they understand the exact pocket, property type, budget, all the requirements, now they can actually recognize an opportunity when they see one. And this is really what I mean when I talk about becoming a strategic buyer. You are not just reacting to listing anymore. You are working the market. You are trying to create opportunities. And then when something does appear, you are still applying everything we already covered. Does it fit the brief? What is actually worth? What the due diligence need to happen? What's our negotiation position? And at what point we are prepared to walk away. Remember, access itself is not enough. You can have access to every off-market property in Sydney and still make a terrible purchase if you don't know which property to buy or what to pay for it. The goal is to put all of these pieces together, and that's what this 3-part series is all about. In part 1, I showed you why buyers can lose so much time and money during the normal buying process, and how to think about value, negotiation, and emotion. In this video, we've looked at the other side of the search and how you can start accessing opportunities before you are competing with everybody else online. But knowing these individual strategies and actually applying them to a real purchase are 2 different things. So in part 3, I'm gonna walk you through the complete strategic buyer system. I'll show you how I've taken the framework and all the processes I use as a professional buyer's agent and turned them into a system that you can use when you are buying a property yourself. So if you are serious about buying a property in the next 6 to 12 months, watch part 3 next, because buying a property is probably gonna be one of your largest financial decisions you will ever make. And I would rather you go into the decision with a process than try to work it out while you're standing into an open home with an agent asking you, so how much are you prepared to pay?